11Tenths Racecraft.
All right, welcome to the second episode of our podcast series, 11Tenths. I'm here with Randy Spar, myself, David Balazic. We're here. Welcome back. We got one episode out. Please continue to give us feedback. We've got a fun one today. Randy and his business partner had a wonderful opportunity to head over and check out Le Mans. And I mean, we've touched on some endurance racing and how important that is for, testing longevity of parts and how tough it can be on a car. So no better way to kind of respect the racing and what they do there. So we're going to talk a little bit about that. It was a big trip, a lot of cool things.
We covered a lot of ground. It was we flew in on the Saturday morning.
Yep.
And we were flying out on a Tuesday, so we had a lot to do in 4 days.
And the funny part is we were literally just talking about how much driving, basically covered a good portion.
Initially the trip was Le Mans, and that's it.
Yeah.
But we'll get into what happened later. So.
It was a bit more.
Yeah, it was a bit more.
Let's, we start off obviously in Toronto. You guys left from, Toronto Pearson and flew into Paris?
Charles de Gaulle, it's a major airport north of Paris. And so I think our plane arrived around 10 in the morning. Mm-hmm. We got off the plane on the runway, which was shocking because we're just used to major airports.
Right.
Off the runway into a short bus, a drive to the terminal, get your luggage, and then basically walking for like an hour to several different terminals within the airport,
right,
to find the rental agency. And then, of course, like usual, you get to the rental agency and there's 10 wickets open and only 2 people to service you. So you're waiting in line and you're listening to the conversation they're having with the people about insurance premiums and just, you've had a long flight and I just want to strangle somebody. So it took, we're waiting an hour for about an hour. We're waiting in line just to finally get served. So southwest of Paris is where Le Mans Circuit Sarthe is located. So we just needed something very basic just to get us there. We're just going to park the car at the hotel and take the shuttle bus into the racetrack. Yep. We didn't need anything special. We just needed a very basic car to do that. So
you ended up getting, what was it? It was a Renault?
It was a Renault. It was a little crossover, a little SUV called a Captive.
All right. So here's our victim.
It's basically a compact crossover. I'd say it actually looks smaller than like a Mazda CX-3 or something. It's small.
It's really small. Yeah.
Right?
Like we were sitting inside and we were like touching arms inside, and later on we realized how lethargic it was. It was so slow.
Well, that's the majority. I think we take for granted here in North America that literally even our slowest cars are quite powerful.
Yeah, it's a 1.6 or 1.8.
Yeah.
This was 900cc.
Yeah.
It was a 900cc, no turbos. It probably had maybe 80 or 90 horsepower. Yeah. We couldn't believe how slow it was. So it was just.
And for those that haven't been to Europe, it's the small car nature of Europe is like they have small streets. Everything's in your town. You're not doing a lot of big traveling, so the small car is the ticket, right? But,
for sure. Yeah.
But what's the very first thing you always do?
Wow, and not always, but this thing needed to breathe, right? It needs to extract an extra couple of horsepower, so we just yoinked the air filter.
Yeah.
And just
let it breathe. The open French air.
Try and get let's see
baguettes and red wine, just sniffing it in easier, right?
Yeah. So the reason we are invited or going to Le Mans is because Sabelt, we are the Canadian national distributor for Sabelt. And Sabelt every other year has a global conference where they have all their national distributors come in and we discuss, some of the sales and the uses of the products, and they talk about the new upcoming lines that they're unveiling, within the next few months. That was happening at Le Mans. We actually were in the Alpine booth at the Le Mans venue. Right?
Yeah, so Alpine basically partnered. Sabelt's obviously, providing product. They did the seats, seat belts, that kind of thing, safety equipment. Yeah. And then obviously, you guys came along as Canadian distributor, which is pretty cool. A neat fact here about Mr. Spar is that every opportunity he gets where a car has a Sabelt,
Yeah.
be a belt in it. He's like the first. Hey, did you see that inside? Which is, I mean, the credit to him and Sabelt is that usually they are always the coolest and fastest cars that have Sabelt belts.
Yeah.
But it's it's a brand that if you don't know, Sabelt makes a lot of cool products from like gloves and seats. You were saying like belts, a lot of cool products.
I mean even the suits, everything, and like we're talking the highest quality out there. I mean they are Italian based.
Yeah.
And when you put on a Sabelt suit, the suit is thin like a pajama. It's a 3-layer suit, full Nomex, full protection, but you're not baking like, in the sun on a hot summer day. You can just keep the suit on. It feels like a t-shirt.
That kind of tech, it's all trickled down. And that's why it's nice when you have an event like that, all the manufacturers that are using it as a test bed. And we're not just, everyone's like, oh, all the cars are tested at these tracks. It's not just the cars. It's down to like every supporting, oil or wear, whatever it is. It's always something that's kind of come there. So anyway, let's dial back here. So
we get in the rental car at 4 p.m. in Le Mans. We have first of many conferences for Sabelt.
Okay.
It's 4 o'clock. We get in the rental car. I think it's about 11:30 in the morning. We're like, okay, should we take the ring road around Paris and just get to Le Mans at 2 o'clock or so? It's only 200 kilometers away.
Yeah, you want to be.
We're like, you know what? Let's just go into the city. I'm gonna take snap a quick shot of the Eiffel Tower.
Yeah.
And
as you would.
Yeah. That was a massive mistake.
Yeah.
We were just basically.
This was basically a regular day.
It was gridlock
in a major city.
Yeah, and I was using Waze, and here I am thinking, oh, okay, Toronto traffic, no problem. I'll use Waze, and we'll go through this. No.
Toronto has built highways, right?
Yeah.
This is like an ancient city.
I measured it. We drove 200 meters in half an hour. 200 meters in half an hour.
200 meters per hour.
I was watching people walk past me on the sidewalk and like, oh, okay, that is faster to walk.
Okay, now what is actually the fastest mode of transportation?
Oh, for sure, a moped. I mean, and the thing is, like, I was also surprised because everyone is lane splitting. They have all these mopeds and bikes that are just flying right past you, and it's kind of scary because you're just sitting in traffic doing 1 mile an hour, and a moped flies by doing 70. Yeah, you're like, so. Before you change lanes, you have to watch because a moped will smoke the back of you if you're cutting through. I think they're going too fast personally. I mean, I know that generally
that is never something I thought I'd ever hear you say.
No, I'm saying
safety,
the lane splitters because you can lane split in California, but the rule is 15 mile an hour difference between. Okay. So that means if you're standing still, they shouldn't be going more than 50 miles an hour. Here, these guys are going full tilt.
They're whizzing.
They're going 60, and you're standing still. So,
all it takes is a door open.
Yeah.
But see, that's the thing. Why would you open the door anyway?
No, you wouldn't, and that's why. But it's just like if you think you missed an exit and you want to cut over, you better think twice before doing that because there's going to be a bike whipping up behind you.
I love that. I mean, it's an old Family Guy bit, but I always love the idea of like, oh man, there goes my exit. I better cut across all 4 lanes instead of just taking the next exit. Right? Anyway, that's a whole other thing.
So. Needless to say, we didn't arrive in Le Mans until we were in there for 6 hours. So it was
were you delayed by the allure of crepes here?
About 6 or 7 o'clock. Well,
that's excusable. If you're going to stop for a crepe and be late, I would think that's anyway. So
it was a crepe. We're right beside this the Eiffel Tower there. The next picture.
So the Eiffel Tower was.
So there's a little crepe stand.
So you did it. Worth the delay?
Yeah.
Honestly, strictly speaking, so you know that you were late. Was it worth it?
Okay, I've been to Paris several times before, so no. I think in all hindsight, I probably wouldn't have done that. But if I have not seen this before. Yeah, it's pretty impressive.
Okay, so for the travelers out there that have not been, worth the traffic.
It's worth the traffic,
okay. All right, so obviously beautiful. Europe is gorgeous. I want to point out that you also chose to go through the section with the Arc de Triomphe, which is known worldwide as the worst traffic.
Yeah. So this is...
To Le Mans.
2 hours later, you can see the sun setting there. It's probably about 7 or 8 o'clock at night. We get to Le Mans. We're driving around the city, and it was a ghost town. I couldn't believe it. I was like, this race is starting tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. Where is everybody? But it turns out that the city is pretty self-contained, and all the circus of the racing is all south of the city.
Okay.
And so we came in from the north. I'm expecting to see a bunch of.
Does it go through the city then?
No.
Oh, okay. Well, it does use streets, but maybe not this area.
Yeah,
then. Okay.
it doesn't.
Okay.
It's the whole thing is south of the city. So this part of France is actually quite far north relative to where we live here.
Okay.
And so this picture was actually taken at 11 p.m. at night. The sun was still up and coming down.
Yeah, it looks lit still.
Yeah, I couldn't
right?
believe it. It's pretty amazing. I mean,
Amazing.
it's great for the Le Mans race because you have a lot of light.
Yeah, true.
You know, when it starts getting dark.
Okay.
So the next morning we arrive at the track and we able to drive into the infield. So that right there is an Alpine. So this is actually who sponsored us. You know, Sabelt and Alpine together.
Now, Alpine, I'll kind of jump in here. So
Yeah.
Alpine is under Renault, but it's a separate
Correct.
brand that they're really building up. It used to be their old rallies, kind of separate. You know, like when AMG was out of house to Benz, this is Alpine to Renault.
Yeah.
But this is they've now released their Boxster or Cayman competitor, which is the A110. So obviously that was new when you guys went.
Yeah.
Which is a good looking car, actually.
Yeah, it's a beautiful little car.
Yeah.
It's not cheap though. A lot of carbon fiber used. I think it goes for about equivalent to about 120,000 Canadian. So it's right along the Cayman price.
You know,
point.
I haven't actually seen one here in Canada yet.
I don't think they brought. I don't
Did they
think
bring
they
them
brought
over?
into North America yet.
Okay.
No.
Now, of course, that all sounds awesome, but let's take a pause and talk about what's going on in the shop right now. So something else that's, going on in the shop, I mean, obviously you work on a lot of cool customer cars, but you get a chance to do something with your car too. You've got an E46 M3.
I got an E46 M3 in 02. I've had it for about 8 years now, I think. 8 or 9 years. It was SMG, and then I just recently converted to 6-speed manual.
So it was a semi-automatic. Sorry, it was a manual. Or was that semi-manual?
It's a sequential automatic.
That's
so I guess it's basically they share the same transmission. It's just you have a kind of a robot shifting for you.
Right.
So I just basically yanked the robot out and did a conversion on it. So it drives obviously a little bit different now.
So you're like I know this. You're a fast driver, talented driver.
Yeah.
Now that you've majority of the time you're on track, you're either doing one of two things at your level. You're either chasing the lap time or you're chasing fun. So now you've done both with the same car.
Yeah.
What do you prefer for that car?
The manual.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, the manual. You know what? There's this little part of me that always wants to try the latest and greatest tech or the newest thing.
Yeah.
Just to stray from the norm. So I think that's why not only did I gravitate to this car because of the color combo, and really that was the color combo was the thing that really did it for me because it took me 4 months to find that color.
Yeah.
Which ironically I covered up with a wrap. But anyways, my car is steel gray.
Yeah.
It's a steel gray on cinnamon combo. I didn't really care about the transmission. The SMG, was a lot easier to find because people just, back then, well, I think, 9 years ago, it wasn't a big deal, but now the manual cars are becoming more rare, like a really nice, clean manual version. So, converting it from SMG to manual, I'd probably just increase the value of it and
We're getting to that point now with cars where we always knew there was going to be the end of the manuals, but now we're finally at the age where new cars, the conversation is it going to have the manual or not? It's no longer a question. It's starting to happen where there are certain good cars that you cannot get with a manual anymore.
Yeah.
So it is worth speaking about. Is it slower or whatnot? Whatever. It's more about the feel. It is not the best transmission. You're sitting in traffic, you don't want it, or you're going for an outright lap time, you don't want it.
It's that, the gratification of that nice heel and toe downshift and match revving. And of course, like a nice shifter also makes it that much better.
100%.
Which incidentally, I was going to touch on this, but we are bringing in a new brand of short shifter.
Okay.
A company called PS Design.
Okay.
They're pretty synonymous for their velocity stack kits for the S54s and the S65s. So we've been working with Pete at PS Design to try and market the PS Design shifter for the Canadian market.
Very cool.
So we've put an order, initial order through for a bunch of shifters to come in, and we're going to take a look and try it out. I'm going to install one on my M3, and we'll do a bit of a review on that.
That'll be hot for sure.
Incidentally, Pete was actually the designer of the RTD shifter.
Okay.
So his shifter is arguably a more refined, a slightly tweaked version,
An evolution
of the RTD shifter. So,
that's like I've got that in my car. The RTD is another mile. So if they're doing that, that's going to be like E46 gold.
Yeah.
So you'll do a review of that and we'll touch on that one.
I'm pretty excited about that.
Of course, we're always working on some cool stuff, either with our project cars or our customers' cars. Be sure to come by and talk about what you've got planned and how we can help you out. But for now, let's get back to that trip. One thing I'll say, if you've never been to a race and you enjoy automotive stuff, go. It's a lot of fun. It's not just about watching the cars go around. It is a hospitality event. There's food, concerts, but the big thing is
souvenirs, and
you want to check what kind of event it is, because in some cases, if you're paying for your 10 or $20 into the grounds, you may not see a good portion of the race. Right?
Yeah, actually, the race does last 24 hours, and the course itself is about 13 and a half kilometers long. I guess some people would walk the entire course. I can't imagine doing that. But on the northern part of the course, where the infield, where the main grandstand is and all the teams, that's generally where all the action is. And then if you go further south, you'll see they have go-kart tracks where you can go in there and you can do some go-karting, and I think they even have a small amusement park for the kids, and it really is it's a spectacle. It's pretty amazing.
It's a big event, and the thing is you want to be aware too of what's at the event and how much you want to spend, because there's different levels of, like everything, right? You're paying for front row at a music concert. You're paying for front row or VIP at these places sometimes, or you may be camping out, and that's a great experience too. But so be aware of that. So you guys essentially were given the experience where you got to go into the pits as well.
Yeah, so
hospitality through Alpine.
We essentially had like a VIP access. So we had hot pit access. We had a VIP inside the Alpine. They had a structure built right on the side of the track where you could be on the second level, and there's it was catered for the entire event, 24 hours of just alcohol and hors d'oeuvres and bacon wrapped scallops, and it's just
good stuff.
Unbelievable.
French food though, like I would imagine that like.
It was incredible. Yeah. You just basically just sit there and stare at the cars and watch all the action.
Cool stuff.
And it was located actually on one of the corners where a lot of cars are decelerating. By
it was always like corner
bridge.
Corner.
I think
one.
It was corner.
Yeah, the corner 1, 2.
Yeah, 1, 2.
Which is neat.
Yeah.
Okay, so did Alpine have a structure at Le Mans then on the corner? Okay.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Yeah. Oh, okay,
so
awesome.
This is the Alpine building here. But,
gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay, so they had a whole hospitality center then.
Yeah. So it's just looking across from it, and then this is a beer garden. They have a lot of those beer gardens, bars.
Yeah.
And
places to eat and stuff like that around, and places to sit.
Yeah, that's kind of what it looks like there. And
I mean, for those listening out there, it's like your standard pop-up building, right? And you've got like chairs and umbrellas and stuff. It's like it's a patio. You're really looking at just a ton of patios here, but amidst that is all these hospitality centers. So either like Alpina, they built it, or like Corvette or Chevy.
Yep. Chevy will be there, Aston Martin, and then Dallara. A lot of the race cars will have their hospitality tent. A lot of them will just have like souvenirs or shirts where they're trying to just
they want to show. They want to showcase. It's marketing, right?
Yeah.
They want to. The common thing is, and Ferrari is famed for saying it, where it was, I want to race on Sunday, sell on Monday, and that really is what it is. I mean, if you're looking at a Corvette, and I mean, your New Balance shoes and cutting the lawn and whatnot, it's the whole idea is that you see that pinnacle car, either a race car or whatnot, at the top of the line, and you're like, I could have even a piece of that. So,
Yeah.
I mean, it's all the ore that comes along with it. Boutiques, right?
Yep.
You've got lots of
souvenirs, tons of stuff there.
yeah, and then
It's all European sizes. I didn't fit in any.
but among the good food that they have there, that probably didn't help either, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So you wonder how you have that much good food.
Yeah, just basically sat here and we watched the racing for the better part of 20 hours.
Yeah. Which now every single race you got to have some sort of spectacle because it's supposed to be significant. If you don't break up the fact that cars are just going around in a circle, it really is just cars going around in a circle.
Yeah.
So you almost every large event, and yes, you can think NASCAR is probably the best example, but there's always a spectacle like, yes, we're going to start the race. So this was pretty cool here.
They got this guy flying around on a hoverboard. They had like a formation.
Call it Jetman.
It's Jetman, okay. Jetman. They had I guess the French version of the Snowbirds or the Blue Angels do a flyby.
Right.
They had a parade of old BMWs go by with big trophies on them from previous years, and it's pretty amazing. Like just the whole experience is incredible.
They make it a show.
Yeah,
for sure. Yeah. Right. So obviously you guys are so close. You're trackside. You get to see all sorts of racing. And now Le Mans. We actually didn't get into this. We're assuming that people know the different types of cars. So it's four classes, I think.
Yeah, you got the LMP 1 and 2, which are the prototypes. These funny-looking cars that don't really resemble anything.
You never see them on the street.
And then there's the GTE classes, which are basically the Corvettes, the Vipers, the Ferraris, and the Porsches, things that you would identify yourself here. And they're much slower cars. So the LMP cars are constantly trying to, get across, go around traffic, so to speak. Both of these cars are extremely quick. I mean, some of these LMP cars are doing 400 kilometers an hour on the straightaways.
Yeah, true enough to dig up there.
Yeah.
The thing is there's a lot of cars that participate. First of all, a lot of teams from all over the world, and they're two different, or 3-4 classes, and they're all different speeds. So they're all fast, but it's still. It gives it a lot more racing because if you get one super fast car that's just going around constantly, you're like Formula One. You're not going to see much passing. Yeah. But with this, you're constantly seeing, because it's still, you got a faster car, but you still have to strategize. You got someone else chasing you down.
Yeah, for the most part, these teams have 3 drivers. No single driver is able to log more than 14 hours of race time during Le Mans. And I think one of those 3 drivers is supposed to be a gentleman driver.
Really?
Yeah, because that's how they keep. That's like the wild card. Because if you have 3 F1 drivers on one team, it's not very fair.
Gentleman, gentlewoman. What is that as a racer?
So it's somebody that comes in with a large monetary contribution to sit in that seat and race. So they're not professional. They could be a business owner. They want to experience it, and they've gotten to the point where they're good enough that they are able to drive one of these 1,000 horsepower cars, and but they're not paid drivers.
Yeah, they're not. There's no one new. Like there's no one that's like fresh off the street with like $1 bajillion. That's still you still have to have some experience.
Yeah, you still have to have some experience.
Porsche actually. For those of you, if you want something interesting to kind of watch, Michael Fassbender, the actor. Partnered up with Porsche, and he's got some skill, and he did a little short series somewhere. Google it. Yeah. But it's a great thing. Same idea. He was a gentleman driver. He's got some skill, and he's there, and he's actually learning from the other drivers.
Yeah, and I think some of these gentleman drivers get so invested in the sport that they actually come out with their own teams. And you'll notice that there's Patrick Dempsey, there's Dempsey Racing, there's Jackie Chan Racing.
Letterman.
Yeah, Letterman Racing. I mean, so these guys all have their own race teams. And so when we're down in the paddock area and, we're identifying all these names, looking at all the trucks and the team paddocks, it's pretty awesome.
These are their trucks, their pit area. Right?
So there's no way you can access this unless they have you on a guest list.
Okay.
So this is generally just like a public walkway to get to each team.
Okay.
And then once you get to and even though we had access to the Alpine LMP team and the Win Ford, we had access to several of these teams. We weren't able to just walk in. We actually had a a time slot.
Okay.
So, we're going to be there at 1:30. That was our time slot for half an hour because they have multiple sponsors and they can't just have anybody turn up.
Right.
So all these sponsors would have a time slot.
You've got a tour guide essentially.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? Yeah. Okay.
And it was pretty neat because you get to they give you the earphones, and the tour guide will actually discuss their wireless earphones. And not only does it, block the extreme sound of all these race cars going by, because as they blitz by, the sound inside these small concrete walls just reverberates. It's extremely loud.
Yeah, so you were in the Win pit, was the first pit that you went into?
Yeah, this is the Ford GT, the Win Ford GT. The next driver is actually sitting here. We have the engineers, and they're all just, talking to the drivers.
And the engineers, it's neat to see, describing, so engineers are basically sitting in front of an array of computer screens. Yeah. So car data, track data, weather data. Yeah. So it's kind of you're basically in what we would
Command Central.
The Command Central, right?
Yeah. Exactly.
That's pretty cool to see, and obviously drivers getting ready to go. And so now you guys got to see. So obviously the Win car comes in for pit change.
Comes in for a pit change. It's surprisingly slow. If you watch a lot of F1, they're in and out in 4 or 5 seconds.
That's down to 2 now.
2 seconds.
2 seconds. But the difference here was basically you're thinking the gas.
Yeah, it's the gas. I mean, when there's a lot of times. If a driver's stint is 2 hours and they're at the 1:47 mark, and all of a sudden there's a bad crash and the yellow is out, and he happens to be near the pits, they radio him, come in quick. Yeah. So they're able to do their driver change during a yellow, because everyone is going much slower during the yellow, then it saves them the time.
Yeah. They always limit certain things. Like fuel flow is something that's limited. You can't. You have to limit how much fuel is being dumped into the car.
Everyone has the same diameter,
So if you're waiting for 100 liters, you know how long it takes for you to go fill up your car at the pump. That's not like a 2-second ordeal.
Yeah.
It's basically, you could, if you had 5 or 6 people running around your car while you're pumping gas, they could probably change your tires. So,
so they're changing the tire, cleaning the windscreen. I would say, the driver change probably is one of the, takes the longest. And I'm sure they practice to have the driver changed and belted in as quick as it takes for 160 liters of fuel to get into that tank.
Now these are pizza ovens?
No, so these are tire warmers. So believe it or not, all the tires are stacked inside there, and
it's basically big black tents is what we're looking at here, right?
So, actually, when you walk by, you can feel the heat radiating off these walls. So, it's quite warm.
And that's the thing. All tires are supposed to be brought up to a certain temperature to be ready, right? Like you're working in this let's call it the stickiness of the rubber.
Yeah.
So they're all warmed up, but I've never seen it like tire. Yeah, it is Swiss tracks. The tires are usually in blankets. I'm used to we see blankets. You guys have access. You guys sell blankets too, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
But the thing is, you never see a whole tent oven for a tire set. So that's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. So this was cool. So you caught these guys. These guys were behind their trailer.
Yeah, and they're just they're grabbing a nose piece. I'm guessing the car may have damaged a nose piece.
Right.
So he's underneath the trailer, pulling out what I think is probably a $80,000.
Yeah, it's kind of like it's a very expensive part that's just chilling underneath. Like imagine the poor driver that backs up by accident and
yeah. So here they are, trying to get it out, and they're running it, walking it over to the actual pit.
Yeah, Le Mans is time kept by Rolex. That's a thing that's been forever. So you have to have a Rolex.
So there's a store there, if you want to buy a Rolex. And of course, there's a lineup to get into the Rolex store. Yeah. And the cheapest thing that they're selling is over 10,000 euro. So
that's well, they sponsor it. Obviously, now you've done the Ford GT pit. Now you're actually in the Alpine.
Yeah, this is the Alpine pit here.
Mm-hmm. And that's the prototype car, right?
Yeah. So this is a live feed up here of the car itself, and that's the televised feed, and then this is the standings.
Yeah, so basically, everywhere in the pits, there's TVs.
Yeah.
Right. So there's no shortage of flat screens telling you what's going on.
There's also like the televised feed. There's cameramen that are walking around constantly. With a wireless pack on their back.
Yeah, it's like a big backpack full of antennas coming out of it, right?
That's it. They walk around, and I guess somebody at the central station is with a live feed is just zipping between different cameramen. And it's funny, I caught myself on camera a couple of times
That's pretty cool.
You know,
Hopefully, yeah. So it's not the first time on camera here.
Yeah, that's it.
But this was neat. So you were telling me here. So we're watching. You guys are in the pits, and as you're watching the car,
I'm watching the car go into the pit, and then it just shows up in front of us.
Right. And I get same thing.
Pretty surreal. It's like, you know,
a faster pit change than the 4GT, right?
Yeah.
All right, so we've covered a lot of the Le Mans trip so far, but we've got some exciting stuff still coming up. Let's just put it this way. The boys got a little bit bored after the race and decided to squeak in a few more interesting trips along the way. So stay tuned for part 2 of the Euro trip coming out next month on the 11th. As with all of our podcasts, be sure to check out the steering column at 11tenths.ca.